Today we're looking at the Ecowas Common External Tariff, looking at the implications for Nigeria. Ecowas External Tariff is actually supposed to take effect from January, that's January 1, according to the agreement there. But there are still some issues surrounding it, particularly as it concerns our country, Nigeria. Well, I have here with me a non-oil export consultant, Mr. Obiora Madu. Good morning, Mr. Madu.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay, we have not seen this yet. Yeah. All right, let's begin by understanding what this Common External Tariff is all about.
Thank you very much. The Common External Tariff has to do with, it's a kind of regional arrangement where member countries of a region agrees to bind themselves by having the common tariff for all imported goods coming from outside the region. Well, that is part of an integration process, for a wider integration process. Of course, in ECOWAS, you have the CITLS, you have the CET, then, of course, custom union, common currencies, and then, of course, you have a total integration, which is very critical. I mean, with about 260 million population, it is possible that after that integration is fully achieved, the sub-region will stand to gain a lot from that.
So how would this actually benefit us here in Nigeria, and considering the environment where we operate, where, of course, import dependent and all of that? How are we going to benefit from all of this?
As a country, there are benefits. Of course, for everything that has an advantage, there will always be a disadvantage. The first is that we're the biggest economy in the sub-region. So that means that we have some special issues which the other people may not have. Of course, that is what has delayed the CET up to this moment, because at some point, Nigeria, after checking the plus and minuses, we found out that if it went the way it was, that it will not be beneficial.
So, but are we ready now?
Well, of course, I think we are, because otherwise, why would we have agreed? There were some concessions, actually, made by the negotiating team to the Nigerian economy, which before Nigeria agreed.
What concessions were there?
The concessions were, if you look at the bulk of our revenue come from customs, because we are heavily import-oriented. But then, of course, if this common tariff, our tariff for so many goods will drop. That will affect the common. But information from the Federal Minister of Finance showed that they have done an impact assessment, and that this impact assessment have shown some slight increase in revenue. I don't know whether it's correct or wrong, but I mean, if Federal Minister of Finance says it is, then that's what it means. So
increase in revenue when? Between January 1, the takeoff of this CET, or?
Yeah, of course, that is for 2015. The impact assessment is for 2015. Okay. There's a slight increase in revenue expected from customs according to the analysis. But the point is that our manufacturing sector is hardly there. We are exporting raw agro-produce. These are all issues, because it will further affect the manufacturing sector. If it affects the manufacturing sector, it will also affect the finance sector, because companies are going to be unable to pay back the loans that they have received. We also operate a mono economy. So it's a whole lot of things. You see, but the point is that there are other regional integrations that had issues, like the one Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and the rest of them. Brazil was the biggest economy. Then the Russia, Kazakhstan, and the rest of them. Russia also was the biggest economy. But somehow they managed to get around this. And right now, everybody is reaping the benefit. So we cannot, because we have some little disadvantage, we also have to be looking at the bigger picture of the ECOWAS and what we, as a bigger economy, start to gain at the end of the day when this whole integration is achieved. The only thing is that we need to have our strategy right. I think that's where the issue is.
Now, what you talked about the revenues generated by customs, and that the Federal Minister of Finance is saying that it has increased. But then this remains a major concern for some stakeholders, you know, about this CET. Here we're talking about looking for other sources of revenue. Of course, with this CET, definitely the revenue will drop, you know, and that's a major issue
Well, I think the custom duties is one aspect of the revenue. Then there's also the tax element. The duties may drop a little, but of course, we are in control of the tax element. That way, I guess they have adjusted to probably make up for what they but all these are 12 months is a blink of the eye. Before you know it, we're in December. We will get to know what but the point is that looking at the general picture, there's a lot of work to be done. You don't want to turn your economy into a dumping ground. You also don't want to have a situation where your manufacturing sector is completely dead. So then, of course, competitiveness is also an issue here. So, of course, infrastructure, we all know, we can sing it all day. But so these are
now
things.
with this is CET now, is it going to bring? It's going to bring about trade liberalization.
That's right.
Which, of course, will lead to perhaps dumping some of
Possibly.
unwanted goods.
Possibly.
All right. Now, looking at this, our economy, which is still reeling from the pressure of devaluation of the naira. We have seen the naira depreciate so much, and of course the oil price declining. Now, isn't that going to further complicate investors' issues?
It will. I mean, you have when you devalue the naira, the exporters smile, the importers are angry because, of course, the cost of replacement of items already in place becomes higher. Now, that is the truth. Then, of course, the oil price, which affects the entire national revenue, is there. But the point is that it brings us to the point where we have to do something about the economy. The non-oil exports. Again, we are still exporting agro-produce, collecting peanuts while other people make huge money from our produce. So I think we should be taking a global look. Maybe take a look at our trade policy generally. Have a strategy for whatever we're doing. Because if you come to the Ecowas, the challenge is not only the CET. You know, there are also two blocks in Ecowas. You have the UMA, and that's the Anglophone, and bringing them together, even though they seem to have agreed. I use the word seem because we want to see, January 1 has passed, so we want to see how this CET thing is going to work. So we need to look at this whole thing, because if the CET works, then of course that ultimately leads us to an ECOWAS trade policy, which is binding on all the nations. So I think as a country, we need to go back to revive our manufacturing sector. We need to provide infrastructure and bring back some of the manufacturing organizations that have died, that are still willing to come. Then also to make it possible, I was listening to the news while waiting, and I saw that a couple of free trade zones have been approved. That's one way to get there. Because I don't understand why we are not reaping from these free trade zones.
But yes, the functionality of those free trade zones also matters.
Yeah, the functionalities matter. So, well, as we begin to have more of private organizations licensed as free trade zone, I mean, you can't compare that with what we have, either the Calabar free trade zone. Then if you have other free trade zones, like I saw one of the Samsung and the rest of them, all these are going to help manufacturing. If we have to turn the whole country into a free trade zone to make it possible for the manufacturing
how possible is that?
I don't know really, but I think the truth is that we make policies, we write very good papers, but we need to implement. We need to implement. If the manufacturing sectors are not working, I keep referring to Michelin. At the time that Michelin went down, it was exporting tires to 26 countries, most of them outside Africa. It went down, the jobs went away, the foreign exchange it generated went away, everything went away with it. So we need to work hard. And what accounted for that was simply power. The cost of running massive plants without being connected to the national grid. Of course, that was very dangerous, and it had to go that way.
Well, recently in the news, the Minister of Trade and Investment is saying that they are working hand in hand with a particular company to conduct a survey to look at the power being, power consumption of some of the industries in Nigeria. Perhaps that could help?
Power consumption, of course, we actually need to have a strategy to give priority. Yes, I need lights, you need lights, all of us need light to sleep and the rest of them. But the point is that there are also, I think there's a solar power something commissioned by the Lagos State government. There could be small projects like that here and there to favor some industries that we need.
And maybe after the survey, then they will now find out whichever industry needs, perhaps an assistance or help in terms of providing maybe solar, as you're suggesting.
But the point is that do we not really have capacity to produce enough power to use? I think we do. I think it's a very long decay. I don't expect an overnight decision, but all these private power organizations, I hope they start producing, because there is no reason why we will cross 4,000, then after a while you hear that we're back to 3,000, we're just within this range. I don't know where we are now, but the point is that it is critical.
All right. Now, still talking about the readiness of Nigeria, because a lot of people still believe that the Nigerian customs doesn't seem to be ready for this CET. Most of them don't even understand what it is about.
I'm not sure that's very correct, because I think that our custom has improved significantly. I mean, when they were trying to take over the destination inspection, everybody thought, well, we're finished, but at least we've been around. I think the customs also, they have a new academy in Abuja, which has done quite massive training for people. And their involvement in Asikuda, because all these things are actually custom issues, even the CETs, the duties is the same thing. So I think it is not the readiness of the customs that is going to be the issue. The issue is what is going to happen to the revenue. And then the mentality of duty collection rather than trade facilitation, how is it going to affect this? Even when the duties are given, are we going to have it implemented exactly the way it is? These are administrative issues that I think also the custom need to address. But as to whether they understand it, I think they do. They know the implications of, they have input, they have representatives at all these negotiations, so they understand what it is. But the fact is that when the rules come down, let them implement this as it is. Let us not be the one being held responsible for making the CET not to work within Ecowas.